Hello everyone, so this is Haven and I am going to be doing the sixth part in the Blender for Beginners series. In this video I'm going to concentrate only on the Extrude and the Knife tool. These are two more ways that we have to add geometry to our mesh that we're making in order to get more detail and create things. So let's start with Extrude. What Extrude is it's the ability to take any part or any combination parts of your mesh and duplicate it. But not only do you duplicate it, you keep it connected to where it came from. So if I were to take this vertex here and I hit E, and E is the shortcut key for Extrude, I can pull that out. And you see that I can move it anywhere I want to according to my camera view. Then by left mouse clicking or using your enter key, you can confirm that extrusion and it stays there. Also, we have the same thing if we were to choose an edge. This edge I chose by selecting the vertices at each end of it. When I hit E for extrude, again, I can move this according to my mouse view or my camera view. You can also move this in different directions. So I can move it along the X, the Y, or the Z. You'll see that moving it along the Y doesn't make a very good move, but E and Y, and now it's constrained to the Y axis, but you can see the results are not all that great. I could also hit E and X to extrude it directly along the X axis, and that might be kind of cool. I can click E and Z and do it directly along the Z axis. So that's what extrude is on those two parts. With extrude on a face, you can use just E and it will come out directly from that face. It comes out in the same direction. And actually that's based on the normals, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. As a matter of fact, in the next video we'll talk more in depth about normals. We'll just kind of touch on them for right now. So E for extrude on a face, again, brings it straight out from where it was. And you can hit E and Z, but you see you kind of get odd results with that. When I left click to confirm that, you'll see that we don't exactly get what we thought. You can, of course, manipulate it and get different effects. And then E and Y for the Y axis gives you the same thing as Z, except it's off to the side instead. So you can do things like that. Now, I did mention that you can, well, maybe I didn't mention it. Let me go ahead and get rid of these things over here real quick so they're not in the way. You can, oh yeah, I did mention that when you extrude a face, that you extrude it straight out, right? Well, what happens if you have two faces? Well, the normals for these faces go in two different directions. So let me go ahead and just turn on the normals for you, and I'll describe all of this in a little bit more detail later on. But when I extruded just the one face, you saw it comes directly out along the angle of this blue spike. This is a normal. And it comes out the front face of your plane, and it shows you in which direction this face is facing. So when you have two of them selected like this and they're going in two different directions and you hit E for extrude, what's going to happen is they're going to move along the average normal of these two. So it's best if you see it. So E for extrude, and now you see that they're coming out along the average of each one of those. So instead of this 90 degrees or this 90 degrees, it's moving at a 45-degree angle. So that can give you some cool results. If you were to use Alt plus E, you get this extrude menu, and in this extrude menu you get individual faces. This means that it's going to extrude each face in its own normals direction. So clicking on that and moving it, you can see that they move separately. They're both being extruded exactly the same, just each one is going along its own normal. So that's pretty fun and handy, and you can do a lot of things with that. What I want to show you is, let me go ahead and bring in a fresh cube. What was I going to show you next? I don't remember. Oh, I know. Let me go ahead and delete this instead and bring in a sphere. I want you to see the different kinds of things that you can actually do. So this is a UV sphere, and I'm going to put it in edit mode, and I'm going to make sure that face selection is on. You can either choose this button down here, or like I told you before, Control Tab, Control plus Tab brings up this mesh select mode window, and you can go ahead and click on face from there. So now with all the faces selected, can you imagine what might happen if I use extrude along its individual faces? So let me go back a little, Alt E, individual faces, and now I get this really cool geometry thing popping up, and I can do all kinds of things with this. I can go into vertex select and scale these faces individually along their own edge loops and make all kinds of weird fun things. We're actually going to talk about this function in the next video, scaling up along individual loops, so don't worry about that just yet. But I did want you to see the kind of things that you could do with the extrude. You can also make things like gears really easily. Let's bring in a cylinder here. Oops, mesh cylinder. And we have 8 sides to this one because I actually played around with this earlier. So it's still set at the 8 sides, but normally it comes in at 32. I also played around with the cap ends, and I'll explain that in another video as well. Well, actually, I'll just do that now. Right now, for cap fill type, you see that it's set to nothing. That means we have a hole. There's no top or bottom to this cylinder. But we can add 2 different types of tops. A triangle fan we have, and I don't want to go into edit mode just yet, but if I were in edit mode, you would see a vertex at the very center of this end. And that vertex would have an edge connecting it to each one of the vertices going around the shape of the cylinder. For the N-gon, you would have just a flat face with no edges on it, but connected all the way around. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go back to nothing here. Well, actually, you know what? I'll stick with nothing for now. I'm going to scale it down. There's so much to show you that I kind of get a little ahead of myself sometimes, the whole time I'm telling you not to get ahead of yourself. So if I were to go into face select mode here, and let's say choose every other face, so we should have 6 of them selected with an 8 face cylinder, and Alt E for individual, you see that you can just start building up on this in different ways. And let me pull that up a little bit. And again, you can come around these and select different things and just keep building on it any way that you want to. And I think I forgot one over here. Alt E and individual faces. And let's say you could just select these 2 and hit E for extrude. And then you can do these 2 and extrude, and they go together. So you can see that you can begin to make all kinds of these symmetrically fun, weird things. Extrude is a great tool to use for a lot of things, and we can just have so much fun with it. And we can do anything that we want. Kind of make our shapes do weird things. And I'm not going to play too much. And I didn't do Alt E. Let's try that one. Whoops. Maybe something like that. So it's up to you. Have a little bit of fun and imagination going with this thing, but this is great for gears and stuff like that. It's also good for making something as simple as stairs. So if you have a cube, and let me get rid of this one. If you have a cube, and let's say we're going to scale it up on the Y, so S, Y, and pull long. We will select this face, and let's just say we're going to hit E for extrude, and we can actually type in 1 point, enter, and that gives us an extrusion of 1 unit. Do you see that? 1 unit here. Or we could do E on the Z axis, 2 point, enter. And so now, why did it do it on? I had my thing a little turned around, but E 2 point. So now I've got it 2 units wide. Go here and E 2 point, enter. E 2 point, enter. So you see you can just keep doing this as much as you want to, and using your numbers, then you can make these nice even stairs. When you get done with something like this, you might want to clean these up, like not have these faces here. But when you do this, you can end up getting holes in your mesh. And I'm going to delete these for now, and I'll talk about filling in the holes later on. Oops, I didn't want to do that one, or this one, or this one, because I decided to delete vertices instead. Okay, see, so now you've got maybe a cleaner stair with less geometry here, but you have to close those up. So we'll go into closing up holes and things later on as well. Anyways, so that's the extrude tool. Quite simple. I'm going to go ahead and add a mesh plane and go into top view, so we're looking directly down at it. And the next tool that I want to show you is called the knife tool. Now the knife tool, can you imagine what the shortcut key for it is? It is K. K starts the word knife, so we use K and we get this knife icon as our mouse with a green box that kind of follows the knife around. If we bring this near a vertex, you're going to see it snap to the vertice, and it has a red outline to it. We can also bring it near an edge, and it kind of snaps to the edge and has a green highlight to the edge now. You can also hold your control key, and when you bring it near an edge, it's going to snap to the center. So you can even center the snap if you want to by holding the control key. Now, when you come to an edge with the knife tool and you left mouse click, you kind of say that this is where you want your cut to start. And it drops a little green box there, and you're left with a new green box and a red stroke line. So if I move my mouse around, I can see where that stroke line is going to be, so it kind of helps me draw things out. And so now I can left mouse click, and now I have my edge here and my 2 red points. And those red points are going to be like vertices. That's where the vertices will be. So if I just continue to left click around, I'm making a series of edges and vertices for myself to add to my geometry. And then if I click on the end, you'll see I'm done making my selection now, but I still have this red stroke left with the green floating box. Don't worry about that. That will go away once you hit the enter key. So you need to hit enter, and that confirms the cuts that you made. Now, as you can see, you have a loop here, or you have different edges and vertices that you can move around and play around with. Okay, now something that's really nice, let me undo this real quick, is you have the ability to cut a hole in things. So K for knife, and now I can start in the center of my face, or I can start off to the side and within the center of the face, as long as I'm not starting at an edge. When you start at an edge and end at an edge, then you only get edge results. You only get added edges and vertices. But when you start on the face and make a solid a loop with these different points and you hit enter, then you get a hole. That hole is kind of free floating and you can do lots of things with it, but you'll see that Blender automatically added an edge to connect the hole to the edge of the face. So let me go ahead and deselect these and deselect these. And now I have just this center edge loop selected, and I can hit G and grab and I can move it around anywhere I want on the face. I can hit S and I can scale it down or up if I want. I can even hit rotate and turn that a little bit if I want. Now when you're rotating it, you might want to be careful of where these edges to the ends go. And actually we cannot really predict that all the time. Blender will kind of find the two points of your cut and connect them to the closest, ones that are closest to some vertice on the actual face itself. So when I first created this circle, this vertex and this vertex were closest vertices to the ones on the face. And I hope that made sense. So that is the knife tool. You can just cut things apart as you want to. It's also a great retopology tool. Let's say you have something with a lot of n-gons in it or something with triangles in it. You can work the mesh around it and you can turn a triangle into an actual quad by adding a vertice to it or cutting through it with another face next to it or something. That's a little more advanced. And you'll see that you'll need that closer to when it comes time to getting your project done. But in the beginning, it's a great tool that you can use to start building things. As a matter of fact, I can select this and hit E and then Z and bring it straight up on the Z axis if I want to. Something else that we can do with extrude is I find with edges a lot of times, let's say I wanted to have this like a bolt. And so I wanted to have a little bit of an edge going inward. Well, you can hit E and Z and bring it straight up. And then you can scale it inward and you can bring it down. But the thing is that it's going to take a little bit of work to actually get this inner edge loop perfectly aligned with this outer one in the Z position. So here I'll go into front view and I'll turn my Extrude off, and so you can see now that it takes a little bit of work to get it exactly even. And even then you can't be sure that it's even without some kind of manipulation. So what I think is actually the easiest to do, and let me go ahead and delete these, is to select that edge loop, do E for extrude, and when you have it extruded, don't left mouse click and confirm it like right here. Right mouse click instead. And now that extrusion is still here, but it's sitting exactly where it came from. It's still lined up perfectly to its previous edge loop. And now if you hit S for scale, you can scale it down. And now this edge loop is perfectly aligned with this one on the Z axis. Again, you could do it outward as well. So E, Z to bring it straight up. E for extrude and right mouse click to snap it back. S for scale, pull it out. E, Z for straight up. E, right mouse click to snap it back. S to scale it inward. Okay, so let's talk about filling in these holes now. When you have a loop of edges and vertices, you can simply hit the F on your keyboard and you will get an n-gon here. So this is like the n-gon cap that we would have had on our cylinder if we had chosen it in the side panel. Well, this is what we would have gotten. If we use, let's see, triangulate faces. No, that's a pretty messy one. I was going to try and show you what the triangulated faces was, but let me go back here. And okay, this is what the other one looked like, the triangle fan. this is what that other cap end type that looked like. And how I did this was I just selected all of these vertices and I used my merge. And you can call up the merge by hitting Alt or holding Alt and hitting M. And this gives you a bunch of choices of where you want all of these vertices to come together. So I chose the center, and now I have that triangle fan end. So there's quite a few ways to do the different things that you want to do. And I am going to go ahead and close off this video for now. If you want a little bit of homework to do, try making something out of a plane with your knife tool and your extrude tool, and see, what you come up with. And the next video is going to be about the poke tool and normals and some really great shortcut keys like inset, your Alt S, and your turning things into circular form. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll play with a bunch of more tools in the next video. Thank you. Please make sure that you subscribe and pass the links along to other people that want to learn Blender. And hopefully we'll get everybody just as addicted as we're getting. See you then.